Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. I'm so glad that you chose to join us for another one of our thrilling episodes with one of our amazing guests. We know that your time is important and that your time is scarce. So thank you for taking time today to pop in on this podcast. Today we are welcoming Jason Cement from GetVisible.com, and he's going to come in and share some amazing insights to do around your website and some of those types of things more in the digital world. And in the course of this podcast, be watching and listening. We're going to be uncovering some hidden profit leaks, just like we do on every single episode. So, with all of that, welcome, Jason.
Hi, good to be here. Happy to talk to your audience a little bit.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you do.
For about 20 years, my partner and I have been running a marketing agency where everything is done online. It's called Get Visible, as you can see from my logo above my face. And the idea is to help companies grow their web presence, basically, their digital footprint, if you will. So give them a website, get them ranked on Google and Bing, run their ad campaigns to interrupt people who aren't looking for them, write content or hire writers to write industry specific content, and do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn to grow their Rolodexes. So all of that designed to grow the footprint, get leads, get sales, stuff like that.
Make that phone ring for them.
Yes.
Yes, because in the home service world, it's all about getting that phone to ring, getting somebody to hit your website and take the next action, whatever that next action might be. So,
Agreed.
sounds like we've got some good stuff to talk about today.
Hope so.
Yeah. So I was poking around on your website prior to this interview, and I noticed you had a lot of information in there about website audits and things like that. Tell me, what are you guys looking for when you look at somebody's website? What makes one good and one not good?
I look at a website as having three like toll gates or toll booths. So
Okay.
the first thing I want to get from a website, and I mean beyond look and feel and design and all of that, like feely stuff, but from a content perspective and messaging, the first thing I want a website to do is be very clear about what it is that you do. So a lot of services sites, they'll just say services and then force you into a drop down. And that's okay. But sometimes they don't have any drop down, which means now someone's got to click onto services to figure out what you do. So I think it's a mistake to do that. If you have an ability in your navigation menu to be really clear about what you do, that's the first thing. The second thing is who you do it for. So many websites do not have an area of their website, which I call colloquially stakeholders, which is who are the people that are going to hire you. So in the case of homeowners services, for homes, you've got sometimes it's going to be the homeowner, sometimes it's going to be the insurance company. You have different stakeholders that may be calling on your audience to hire them. So to the extent that you can create content in your website that appeals to those audiences, much better, right?
Much better. Yes.
Right?
I know I've hit so many websites that I'm just completely confused. What do you do?
Right.
I can't
Right.
figure it out. And I don't remember the statistic, but isn't it something like you've got just a couple seconds before somebody clicks off and they'll go elsewhere?
It's even worse if you think about social media. You have a half a second as
Oh,
people
wow.
scrolling, right? So the
Yeah.
third part of a website that I look for is what you call social proof, validation, endorsement, testimonial. It's sort of like this. If I figured out in your case, hey, Diane, you have an accounting background and you're doing coaching and you're helping these home services companies to be more profitable, right? And you can evidence that you've got an understanding of their business and you've got a list of services that you offer. There's only one other question beyond how much it costs and can they afford you, which is can they believe that you're the one who's going to bring them to the promised land?
Right.
Right? So how do you convince them that you're not just a domain expert, but you're a trusted one and a reliable one and one who can produce the results that they need? So there you need all of those things like awards, industry logos, testimonials, reviews, just things, press releases, appearances in the press, just all the things that convince people that you're worth them trusting.
I'm going to stop you right there because I can hear it already in my mind. My home service business clients going, but I'm busy. I don't have time to stop and do all that. You mean I've got to get an award somewhere or I've got to go take a certification? I don't have time for that. I'm busy. I'm putting out fires every day. My business is trucking down the road. How do I ever have time to make all this stuff happen that Jason wants me to put on my website?
Well, you got to hire people to do it for you, obviously. I
Yes.
don't mean hiring me or my team. I'm saying like certifications is a good example, right? I mean, that's an important thing to do. You can hire someone that's got the certification, of course, but those are good examples. I mean, it's ultimately like this. We joke around, you want to be flamazing,
I
right?
like that.
So however you can convince people that you're flamazing, that's the key.
Right. And I think oftentimes we take our knowledge for granted. Like I don't know how many certifications that I've done over the years, but I don't have most of them on my website
Right.
because you don't think about it. You just did it. And that was maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. Now I'm on to something else. And I think they're the same way. You're busy, you're not really thinking about this stuff, but that's a good point to consider is take a look at your website. Do you show any of your knowledge out there by in social proof, your certifications?
Right.
If you've written a book, do you have your book on your site? Do you have those kinds of things that people can say, I start to feel some trust?
Here, take a look at this. I wrote this book. I need more clients. Like
I
8 years,
downloaded it in a Kindle so I could get it quickly.
right? So I like 8 years ago. But why did I write the book? Because that's a funny story. We were hiring people, teaching them how we do what we do, and then they were quitting and doing it themselves.
Oh, wow.
So it took me so much time to do the training with my partner that we said to the last one before this book, write down everything that we're telling you to make a Bible out of it. And then we turned that into the book.
Right. Yeah. I have
Or
the
even
same
if they
type of
quit, I
thing
didn't
here
care. Right. Your
in
path to
my Your
profit.
Path to Profits book.
Right. So even if they left, it didn't matter because I mean it mattered, but it mattered less because now I had a handbook on how to do what we do.
Right.
And even though that book was written 8 years ago and many, many Google algorithm updates since then, the principles still are the same. Write good content that's original, get it out there, get people to pick it up and link back to your website, right?
Hmm.
And try to partner with influencers along the way
Right.
that have the ear of your target audiences.
That does help you catapult a lot faster if you
Right.
can get some of those influencers to come into your world somewhere along the line.
Correct.
Yeah. Very good. What else are you looking for when you look at somebody's website?
Well, then you get to design aesthetics, colors, logo. I like to see a slogan next to a logo most of the time because the name of the company may not intuitively help people understand what you're about. You know, if you're big enough like an IBM, you don't need it. But the truth of the matter is, even big companies have slogans that they live by. Burger King is it, right?
Yep.
So, and even if it's changes, it's okay. If you don't have a slogan, maybe you're an older business, so you can say since 1992, 25-year anniversary. It's not just about, it's either what you do, who you do, or why you do, or why should I trust you? So anything
Okay.
that you can do for those three uh, what ifs or whatever you want to call them, that's important to put in the top navigation. I think having a telephone number is still relevant. So make it easy to contact you. If you're a regional business or location specific, then put down the city that you're in on top of your navigation
Yes.
menu,
I
right?
get so frustrated. I don't know where you are.
Correct.
And
Uh,
yeah.
your navigation menu. I don't like when a website in a big screen just has a hamburger menu because you have a big screen, you don't need to preserve space that much. You're not a museum.
Right.
So you should put the links out there, make it easy to click so people can figure out what you're doing. For sure, this is a big deal. you should design your site to be compliant for people that are visually impaired.
Okay.
It's called ADA compliance. And right now, and this is something you can email your people after this podcast, which is the government, the IRS has an incentive where they'll give you a tax credit if you make your website compliant. So let's say
Wow.
you can get up to $5,000 back in a tax credit. It's very easy to do. And that's a one-for-one deal, meaning if you owe $20,000 in taxes at the end of the year and you have a $5,000 credit, your taxes are 15 grand.
Right. It's not a
Right?
deduction,
It's
which is
not a
pennies on
deduction.
the dollar. It's a credit.
Right. As far as I know, you
Right.
get the deduction and you get the tax credit. I'm not sure if
Okay.
it's double dipping. I'm not 100% sure. I don't practice as a CPA anymore.
Right.
But the bottom line is that they give you 50% of what you spend above 250 bucks. So
Okay.
if you qualify, and almost all the websites we build are under 10 grand for the most part. If you qualify, you're talking about buying a website for 20 cents on the dollar.
Right. Very good.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yes. Wow.
And
Well, thank you for
and
sharing that one.
most people do not know about this
Mm.
tax credit. So I'm going to say selfishly, if you want it, you got to hire me.
Well, your information is right there on our screen. And for those that are listening and not watching, www.getvisible.com if
Right,
you want that little bit of information that Jason just shared.
right.
Now, Jason,
Now,
oh,
I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to say, I mean, websites is really the door opener to our agency. So it's very convenient for me to have a tax credit incentive to get people to walk through the door. But
That.
most of our revenue is they already have a website or we've created a website. And now, like your listeners, okay, how do I get the leads?
Yes. How do I
Right?
make that phone ring?
Right.
So, what types of things can they do to increase their SEO presence and to actually get people to take an action?
Video is a big thing to do now. Even with AI, it's still hard to create
Hmm.
live video without a real person. That probably will change soon, but nevertheless, you're still your brand. So if you have your employees making videos, and there's a new technology now for testimonials that instead of just sending somebody a link that they record for a minute of testimonial, you can actually interview them. And the the AI will then take the interview. It's AI doing everything. It will then produce the video from the interview.
Wow.
So no one will hear the questions. They'll just see a final product, but you'll get the
Mhm.
information because most people, you ask them to leave a testimonial, they don't really know what to say.
They don't. No.
Right.
And
But
it's
if
very
the AI,
awkward.
right. So you have an AI
Yeah.
coach that walks them through a testimonial,
Uh-huh.
takes a few minutes, and then you get a much better result.
Wow. That's very nice.
Yeah.
But I know different times I've been put on the spot. Somebody shoves a microphone in front of your face at a conference or something and say, I need a video testimonial. And you're like, I don't know what to say because they caught
Exactly.
you off guard and you didn't have time to think through what you wanted to say. And it can be very uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
So
Right.
I like that. Very
So
good.
you asked me like, so what do people do to make themselves visible? So video is good. Another thing people can do is create a network of influencers in the industry that they're in. Well, you're talking about home services, so let's talk
Mhm.
about that. So a person who's a roofer is going to partner with a plumber,
Mhm.
partner with a
Very visible.
landscaper.
Mhm.
So to the extent that you're talking about online, what I would do is I would find the people who are doing it well online in related businesses, plumbers and landscapers as two
Okay.
examples, or home contractors, right? Create content on your website that features these other people. Write an article and say, here's what's happening in Seattle in 2025, things you need to watch out for or to do in regard to protecting your home from the coming winter or the rains of the summer. And have a blurb from the plumber, have a blurb from the landscaper, and
Okay.
then reach out to them and say, hey, look, I featured you. Thank you, for taking my interview and whatever. Can you link back to the article on my website? All of a sudden now you've got 10 people who you've established some goodwill with, and you get links from them pointing to your website, which is also good for your search engine positioning. And maybe they start referring you business because you did something nice for them.
That's amazing. And so simple too.
Yeah. Yeah. Why spend money if you don't have to?
Right. And here again, it comes back to just stop and slow down a minute and do some of these smaller, inexpensive type things. I know it's easier sometimes to just throw a bunch of money at something
Mm-hmm.
and keep rolling. But there's a lot of things that we can do ourselves that don't cost a lot of money and don't take a whole lot of time.
Right.
I know
Right.
I just got off of a call with the company who does some website and reputation management and things like that for me. And they were telling me, Diane, you need a video when somebody first lands on your site. And it's like, oh no, I got to stop and do something like that. He says 15 to 30 seconds. I'm thinking, yeah, that's easy for you to say. But, things like that, we're busy and it feels like this great big boulder I got to roll up a hill when in reality, it's not that bad. But it feels when he said that, like, oh no, one more thing to put on the to-do list.
Well, you know what they say, facts don't care about your feelings.
That's right. Yeah. So as a business owner, we always have to find some little spot where we can slow down to then speed back up again and
Agreed.
take care of these types of things in our businesses.
Agreed.
So what are some other ideas to increase their SEO?
Press releases. There's always something you can announce about your business. So typically a press release is like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 to do a press release, right? That's using a company called like PR Newswire. It's very expensive. So someone figured out maybe a decade ago or longer that they could mimic the press release concept and create their own network. Same
Okay.
newspapers for the most part,
Okay.
but instead of charging $1,000, and now with AI, you can create the press release pretty quickly. It's like $350. And there, what happens is you get all these links from the newspapers that are picking up your press release. So you get a backlink boost. So when someone types in your brand, for example, and they see you announce something, you're going to show up on Google on the first page, most likely from the press release.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you get for $350 a month. We created something, you'll laugh at this. We created a website called lookreallybusy.com. Right? So the idea is you want to look really busy. So if you look really busy, people want to hire you.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So in the look really busy, you get a free press release. They can look at it online. It's just a way to nuance out the benefits of looking busy and a few things that you can utilize that we've learned about over the years that give you a low cost way to make people think you're worth hiring.
Right. And that really helps that perceived value.
Yeah,
Almost that celebrity type of thing because
right.
they're seeing your name, especially if you're in a local area. They're seeing your name. And every so often I'll hear the comment of, I see you everywhere I go. It's like, wow, okay. And that's what you want people to feel like. They're seeing you everywhere they go. And that really helps with that name recognition. It helps with that celebrity, the credibility, all those things that come from being seen everywhere somebody goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess press release is the second or third idea that I'm giving you right now.
Okay. Got another one you want to share?
Um, you think about that. So press releases, video we talked about, original content we talked about, linking we talked about. Um, Social media, I think, is a big deal now. I think with AI and the likelihood that the interface will change with Google, it will impose on business owners more responsibility to create a brand that people recognize and trust.
Okay.
You don't get that from search engine rankings. That just gets you eyeballs. But
Eyeballs, you bet.
you need to spend more money and time and resources building a brand presence in your area. I'll give you an example. We have different slogans over the years for Get Visible, but now Be Seen, Get Chosen is very compelling
It
because
is
I
very
walk into a meeting
concise,
and I
very
say, look,
compelling.
you just need two things to make money online. One, you got to get out there that people see you,
Hmm.
and then you have to have the right message so they choose you.
Right.
Step one, get seen. Step two, get chosen. Like it's simple, right? It doesn't say online, I get that, but my brand name says Get Visible. So you sort
Hmm.
of get all three together.
Right.
Okay. So if you're a roofing company in Seattle, now it's one thing to own SeattleRoofer.com. That's great. Okay. And maybe that's enough because it says exactly what you do, right? But maybe there's something that you can add, like a slogan beyond just your brand name that speaks to
Mhm.
your, whether it's low cost or high cost, whether it's you're like the premier company like the Rolls Royce or Nordstrom, whether it's 1,000 testimonials, right? Something that people can remember you. Maybe it's Raymond from Seattle, right? There's like a lawyer in LA. I think his name is I was going to say call Dave. It's not Dave. I forget his name. Like Better Call Saul. So there's a lawyer in LA. His advertising is just call. I forget his first name, but that's his thing. It's funny that I'm
Mhm.
not remembering it now, but I'm supposed to. That's painful, right? It happens. But the branding. So social media means you build a following on Facebook as one
Mhm.
example, so that when somebody has a leak in their roof, you've given them enough of content over whatever the years that
Mhm.
they enjoy your brand. So your brand isn't just on Facebook selling them something, it's giving them tips on home care and things like that that make you worthwhile. On top of the fact that you get to put out, oh, here's a coupon for Christmas, right? Or pull the
Right.
trigger by the end of the month and I'll give you $100 off, or I'll give you a free roof shingle, or whatever it is.
So I hear people all the time say that it's super hard to get noticed on things like Facebook, that there's just so much chatter out there that it's really hard. And so I've heard several of my clients feeling frustrated with the
Hmm.
social media side of things, where a few years back it was much easier because it wasn't quite so congested as it is
Right,
now.
right.
Ideas for how somebody can stand out in such a crowded space?
um, Quality of what you put out. I mean, it's
Okay.
not crowded any more than it was before. It's just a question of, like, your feed is still your feed, right? As a user.
Mhm.
So if Facebook chooses to show your company on someone's feed, the only thing that matters is, can you capture someone's attention? Now that's for organic. The other
Mhm.
aspect of it is spending money on
Right.
advertising on Facebook also. So if you're willing to pay, there's two ways you can play to pay, or pay to play. One of them is you can take what you post organically and you can pay them more money to make more people see it, because only 10% of your followers see what you post.
It's very small. I'm
Okay.
amazed at how small the
Right.
number
So
of
you could
people that see it.
spend $10, $20 and they'll widen the audience considerably. On
Okay.
top of that, you can define an audience and say, I want you to show this ad to these types of people. And then you're paying either by clicks or you're paying by impressions. That just depends on which campaign you're doing. So it's expensive to keep doing this, obviously, but that just
It
depends
is.
on your landing pages and how good you are at getting the leads and converting the leads. So we're calling it NTC, nurture to convert,
Okay. I like that.
right?
Yeah. And sometimes that nurture cycle can be fairly long. We get
Yes.
impatient and we want it to be quick. 30 seconds on the microwave, and it doesn't work that way. It can
So
take years.
let me give you a website for your viewers. It's called Follow Up Wiz, like WIZ, followupwiz.com. They address exactly what you're talking about. That company is geared for lead nurturing that could take 3 to 6 months to convert. So you've got the lead. One of the founders is writing a book now. It's called Leads Now What? Right? I've got
How
the
do you
lead,
keep
now
them
what?
how do you keep them at, going and moving and stuff?
Right?
Yeah.
How do you move them along the funnel to
Yeah.
convert them?
Yeah.
So that's her. That's what they do, and they have 27 up to 27 touch points to nurture to convert,
Very
nurture the
good.
lead to convert them.
I know I've had people reach out, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years later where they've gotten a copy of one of my books,
Yeah.
and I've had them reach out, and now they're ready to work with somebody to help their business become more profitable. They're ready to look at a coaching type relationship. They're ready for that. But before they weren't. Just weren't at
Exactly.
that space in their business, and now today they
Exactly.
are. So it
Right.
can be a very long nurture cycle.
100%.
Well, this has been some really great content. This podcast is all about hidden profit leaks. You coming from an accounting background, me having an accounting background, it's so easy to go to the P&L and say, "Oh, you're spending too much money here. There's a profit leak." Those are
Right.
really easy to find. But we know that in running a business, there's so many ways that profit can just leak out. It might be a small drip, it might be a steady drip, 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 or it might be a outward flow. You think of the leaky bucket concept with bigger holes and smaller holes and that type of thing. And I'm wondering, in all the work that you've done with service businesses or even home service businesses, if you've seen some hidden type profit leaks or some uncommon profit leaks that we might be able to talk about. And I'm going to drop some money in my little profit bucket because that's what we do at this point in the show,
Right.
because we want to put that money, that profit, right back in your business. So think for a moment, Jason, see if you can think of a situation where you worked with somebody and we were able to identify a hidden profit leak.
Well, the easiest answer is in advertising. What
Okay.
we end up doing, like you asked me at the very beginning, what does it mean to do a content audit, right? Or a website audit. So there's two ways to look at that. One is to audit a website to determine, which we did this morning. We're picking up a new client because it turned out they did a really bad job creating landing pages for the different verticals that they service.
Okay.
So if you think about home services, right? So if someone's doing roofing, there's different natures of services related to roofing. There's a leak. There's broken stuff because a tree fell into a roof. There are different ways to describe the service that a roofing company can provide. If you don't create good landing pages for that, and you just have like a paragraph, you're doing a disservice to your business because you're not selling. You're just displaying like a guy in a trench coat at the park. It's just not going to work. Okay, you got to sell it. So that's number one. With advertising, you could be bidding on keyword phrases in Google that have very low conversion. You keep bidding on them thinking that it's going to be worth it. It's probably not worth it. So you're throwing away money, which in your world is profit. You're just throwing away profit.
Right. And we don't like to let that profit leak out of the bucket. We
No.
want to get those leaks stopped and put that money back in these home service business owners' pocket where it can be put back to work. I don't know if you ever watched Shark Tank or not, but Kevin Leary always says that his money has jobs. They're little soldiers being sent out to do something. And we want to think of that
Correct.
concept in
Yeah.
our businesses, that our money
Agreed.
has jobs. And if it's leaking out, it can't do the job that it needs to do. So thank you for sharing those ideas on ways that it is potentially leaking out through their advertising and things like that, because I think it's easy just to keep doing what we've already been doing because we're just on an autopilot type program, maybe, and we're not really stopping and measuring those results.
Correct. I'm with you.
Yeah, those can be some tough times and it's just here again, we're busy. We're busy, that we've got a crew of people that we're managing. We got customers calling. We got vendors that may or may not be delivering the product when they're supposed to. You got trucks that are breaking down. They're busy.
Right.
And these things can get by us so easily and quickly, and we don't even realize it. But boy, if we could stop these profit leaks and put their SEO to work for them towards actually accomplishing what they need it to accomplish, we
Right.
could put a lot of money back in their pockets.
Listen, in your world, for the people that you're addressing, one thing that they almost all universally share are really crappy websites. They have
Yes,
very much Me Too websites.
they
So
do. Yeah.
I would say if people are listening to your podcast and they are focused on profit, it's such an easy win to take advantage of the IRS tax credit.
Mhm.
And especially now, 2024, you only have a few weeks left of the year. But if this is going out on time, but otherwise start in 2025 while the credit's still there, that would be a first step, because it's not just redoing a website and getting the credit and getting a better website, but by going through the website experience, it's essentially an audit of your whole brand online and your messaging and everything, including stakeholders and things that, like you said, your owners are too busy thinking about their business and dealing with they're working in the business, not on the business.
Right.
So they need help to work on the business, which is why you get hired.
Yes, we like to carve out what we call implementation time. And so
Yes,
from time to time, we'll carve out an hour or 2 hours, and they will go to work doing these kinds of things that they just can't seem to get to during the normal day to day. But when they're part of a group coaching program or even a one-on-one coaching program, it makes it a little easier to make this stuff happen because we've put it on the calendar and we've carved out the time.
cool.
So I love having my coaching clients working on their business during our coaching times.
Well, as Howard Stern says, we've said it all.
Enough said, huh? Well, thank you, Jason, for being with us today. And again, if you want to share where people can come find you,
Just go to getvisible.com. They'll find me.
get getvisible.com. Thank you so much, everybody. And as always, check our show notes. There's always a freebie, some sort of a gift that we have for you every time you listen to the podcast. So be sure to go down there and grab your free items if you haven't already done that. Thank you, Jason, for joining us. And remember, it's not necessarily the top line revenue that is something to brag about. I'm more excited about you becoming profitable, being proud to be profitable, and let's brag about our bottom line revenue. Let's go brag about how profitable your business is, because you've been picking up valuable tips and tricks as we've been running this podcast. So thank you for joining us. We'll catch you on the next episode.